duh. This is the Speak Easy podcast, where we talk about the behind the scenes of being the successfully paid speaker or author. That part, your host, Alchemy Spelzer. And guys, so when it comes to being a champion or becoming a champion, can I tell y'all something? Leave the cape at home. Leave the cape at home. Being a champion is so much more than having the flashy cape. And besides, you don't want that getting caught in something. Have a bad experience like Beyonce when her hair got caught in fame. You don't want one of those experiences. So leave the cape at home. We're going to dive into some great things when it comes to becoming a champion, what that really feels like, looks like. That part. Why? Because we have an amazing guest today. So, hey, Donnie.
Hey, girl. How are you? I'm actually really excited to be here. I love your energy. Holy hell.
So it's I'm excited. Well, look, now you done took me all off.
I got her all flustered now. See, mama didn't raise no fool. You flirt a little bit out the gate, and then you get them all messed up, and then you own them. I mean, it's great. I love it.
Love it, love it, love it. So tell the studio audience a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into today's topic.
You know, the simple, easy way is, I don't have to go this whole diatribe of my story, is I'm a country boy, lives in Texas. I run one of the top podcasts in the world called Success Champions. And probably the thing I'm most proud of is I just help people get out of their own damn way. And I launched a Facebook group, about a year and a half ago called Success Champions. We've grown to over 600 members. We have 90% engagement in that group. And it's really just a bunch of badasses that are going for it, man. I mean, I'm most proud of the networking that happens in there, the business development that happens in there. I mean, we do Friday night. We call them Champions Happy Hour because I'm always going to have a glass of rum with me as I do these live, and I invite some other friends and guests in to be a part of it. And you know, it's me a lot of times sharing my journey to being a business owner, because I spent 20 years working for other people and living other people's dreams. And in doing that, I finally got the courage to jump out on my own and start my own company. And I failed miserably because I didn't know what I didn't know. And the biggest thing I didn't know was I had to mentally change over to a business owner. And I was constantly trying to create a job for myself. So flash forward to where the company is now, you know, podcast plays in 137 countries and a ton of downloads. I've been blessed to have some of the biggest names in the world on the show. It's been a blast. And now I'm just paying it back, you know, paying it forward, I guess you're supposed to say. But I'm really just trying to help people get to where I've got to, because I know what I went through, and it was tough. It was tough. So, you know, that's my story in a nutshell, other than just being a good looking guy with baby blue eyes. I mean, there's that too, but
yeah, baby blue eyes are a little dangerous. I wanted to let y'all know that. I found that out during the webinar, just to let you know. There was a couple times where I missed a few things he said because I got a little lost in the swimming pool.
These are my money makers, right?
Now, I made the statement when we started, you know, that becoming the champion, one of the things that you got to understand is leave the cape at home. And when I say that statement to you, what does that make you feel? Like, what is your response to that?
Well, first, I think of the show The Incredibles when the dude actually gets sucked into the plane. Right. But no, here's the truth. I'll speak to my truth. That way I don't put a blanket statement to everybody else, right? My truth was when I launched my business, I really had this cockiness to me that, you know, I would put my brand out there because I wanted to be like a Tony Robbins type speaker or something, right? That was kind of my mentality and path. And I'd been speaking for a couple years already prior to launching my own business. And I really had this kind of thought process that I'm going to say I now have a business and the world's going to say hello. And, you know, now I'm going to be this internationally traveling. People are going to pay me to speak and everything was just going to happen for me. well, shit, that didn't happen. I mean, it's happened now, but it didn't happen how I had envisioned it happening. Because as I came out the gate, my ego was so big that I probably couldn't fit through some of the doors I tried to go through. And, I didn't understand the business behind being a speaker, the business behind being a podcaster, the business behind, the business. And so when you say leave your cape at home, that hits hard, because as I started out the gate, it was about me, right? And I was trying to constantly show up to the world and say, look how badass I am, right? You want to listen to me because I'm a badass, but yet I hadn't proved jack shit to anybody, let alone myself. I just thought, because 20 years as a sales guy, straight commission the entire run, I've spoken in front of large audiences, but I never ever embraced that I was doing that for other people and not myself. So when I came out the gate and I was talking to people, I was talking at them and not with them. And so my story, took a hard hit. And a mentor of mine told me before I launched my business, he said, Donnie, I promise you, you will discover more about yourself and what you're made of the day you finally become a business owner, because of the shit you're fixing to have to go through to get to the shit you need to go through to become who you need to become to find success in this world. And, it's like I tell everybody, you got to get punched in the face by life.
Ooh, and punched hard. And
then, in the words of Rocky Balboa, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can take a hit and keep moving forward. It's been a wild ride for me. So, go ahead.
Oh, it makes me think of the statement that was made. Everybody is good until you get punched in the face. Everybody is an expert until you get punched in the face. When you
Mike Tyson,
it's completely different.
Yeah. I think that for me, I never understood. I mean, I was a sales guy. I mean, literally somebody would say, here's this widget, this service and anything, and I could sell my ass off, right? Really easy. I mean, sales is nothing more than a conversation, right? It's a conversation that has an outcome. So if I talk to you, you talk to me, we agree it's a good fit for the both of us, a deal happens. Cool, right? Really, really, really simple. So what I had never done is I had to come up with selling me and creating my own sales process for me, and then deliver those services for me, and then collect the money for me, right? And then operations, retaining, building processes and everything else. It was like I was trying to learn a foreign language, and I fought it stupidly because I ran my company straight into the ground, because took me 6 months to realize the world isn't going to open the doors and say, about time you showed up.
In my mind, it was just like the heavens opened up, the doors opened, and they were like, welcome, unicorn, welcome. And I was like, thanks. You're so sweet. I love it. I don't even think anybody opened the door when I showed up.
Yeah, there was no red carpet. There was no limo, no Rolls Royce pulled up, and, no big lights. I mean, here's the truth. The day I launched my business, I'd walked away from a big partnership deal that I was buying out my partner, and I walked away from it all. And I remember that drive home. Now, for a lot of people, they kind of see me as this, I don't know, over the top ego type guy without being too much of an ass, but I'm very direct and blunt in everything that I do. But that drive home, dude, I found myself in complete tears, because I realized for the first time in my life, I had done something that I'd never done. And I'd finally bet on myself, and that scared the pure living shit out of me, because now there was no excuse, right? There was nobody I could blame for a shitty month, a shitty day, a shitty week, anything. It was finally all on me. And I was not okay with that. I wasn't prepared for that emotional onslaught of, holy shit, I walked away from guaranteed incomes. I walked away from health insurances. I walked away from a support team and being around people and all of that stuff. And now I was going to have to figure all of this out. So it hit me like a ton of bricks. But then I did what I think everybody does is, I jump on Facebook and I start talking to people. Then an ad pops up, and now I'm taking a course. Then I'm writing a book, and then I'm trying to speak on stage, and then I'm building a course, and then I'm, doing webinars and blogs and trying to do funnels, and I got shit scattered everywhere. And I'm doing all this stuff, but making no money because I'm just scattered all over the place. So the biggest thing, luckily I've got some really great friends. I have no entrepreneurs in my family. So I didn't have anybody in my family I could go back to and say, hey, this is where I'm at. What do you do? I mean, they all tried to give me great advice, but it was, an employee mindset that they're, I don't want to say trapped in, that's tough on them, but I mean, but it's where they're at. So I went to a bunch of mentors and friends and colleagues that had made these types of leaps before. And the number one thing they kept telling me, and I wasn't listening, is we don't know what you're doing. We don't know what you're selling. We don't know what your business is. And it took me a while to finally hear that. And I realized that I'd had no brand, and I talked about this in a webinar. Marketing is what you say you do. Branding is what everybody else says you do. And nobody knew what the hell I was doing. Right. So I had to throw everything in the trash and focus on my business and figure out what that business was. And so what a lot of people don't know is I make most of my revenue do podcast consulting. That's where I get paid to do most of the things. And I help launch some really cool shows. And I'm the behind the scene guys on a lot of those, even though I'm the guy that wants to be at the front of the room. Right. But I've paid that knowledge forward. Now I'm helping a lot of small business owners, like I said, get to where I am, because I can't teach them to get beyond me. I can teach them to get to where I am because I know how to do that. Right? I can't teach them to get beyond me.
One more time. Repeat one more time.
I can only teach them what I know, right? I can only teach them to get where I am. I can't teach them to get beyond me because I'm still learning how to do that. And I'm very upfront with that with anybody I coach with, right? I can get you to my level. And I learned this the hard way because I hired several coaches that were gurus. And what I mean by gurus is it's their way. No, let me teach you how you should do this. No, fucker. How about you give me some good ideas? I'll tell you what fits my brand, my image. I control what I know. I appreciate it. Give me pushback. Hold me accountable. I like that. But don't tell me how to run my business because you're some guy. And I found that any coach that looks at you and tells you specifically what you should do with your business probably hasn't created what they're trying to teach in the first place. Right? So it's a matter of finding the people that you align with. And that's why I have a couple of coaches, but I rely a lot more heavily on mentors, and they coach me, but it's I can go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Here's where I'm frustrated. And it's funny. Most of the guys are like, no, you just pull your head out of your ass, and the other thing they tell me is to slow down because I'm the guy that's like, well, I should already be here, but I'm still back here. And they're like, dude, it's a marathon, right? This isn't the 100-yard dash, which is a hard thing for me to wrap my head around. But it comes down to, and I'll also even speak to people trying to get on stages. I get all my speaking gigs 100% by referral, right? I've made it the mission, my personal mission, not my business mission, but my personal mission is to create champions. And what I mean by champions is I always look at it this way. The movie Troy with Brad Pitt, right? Beginning of that movie, right? Brad's all laid up, drunk as hell, and the king's looking for him, and then they bring him out to the front, and there's just this stupidly steroided out freakish dude out there, and basically the two countries have come together, and the king's like, or the two kings are there, and they're like, we're going to put our two best men in the middle, whoever wins the war, and we get all your stuff, right? So the one king gets this incredible Hulk looking dude, the other guy gets Brad Pitt, and the big guy's, of course, screaming and hollering. And then all of a sudden, Brad Pitt comes up, does one move, stabs a guy in the neck, fights over. The war's won, right? That's what I think of a champion is who's the person that when you're going to battle in life, in business, and everything else, that you want out there front. So I create champions by helping people get to where they want to go. Right? That's why in my group, I do so many lives. I do so much teaching. I ask so many open-ended questions because the answer to everything in life is mindset. And if you can't get it right between the ears, you'll never get it right out in the world. Right? So it's by teaching people how to be champions, like my Facebook group. I haven't personally invited a person into that group in over a year. It grows organically because the people in there invite all their people in. And that's what I wanted to happen, is by helping enough people, Zig Ziglar's famous phrase, by helping enough people get where they wanted to go, I'm getting where I want to go. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I'm sure you got questions. I'm talking a hell of a lot. So
no, you dropped some phenomenal things simply because when we get into that space of we do need a mentor, we do need a coach. Anybody who thinks that they can do this on their own, they have a special place for you. There's that whole solopreneur thing, that it's cute. It sounds cute. That's what it is. It's cute. It's cute like frilly dresses. That's what it is. But
solopreneur just means broke.
That part. There is a team that is needed. There is a support system that is needed, and there's a coach that is needed. And you hit on so many different topics. But the fact that you need to make sure that you have somebody who is in front of you who is not just feeding you their lunch. If I go to a chef, I won't want the chef to just feed me their lunch. I want the chef to feed me a meal that's on the menu. If the chef comes out and says, "Oh, this is what I brought in for lunch. It's my ham and cheese sandwich." That's not what I paid you for.
Right. That's a great analogy. I'm borrowing that, just so you know.
That's not what I'm paying you for. That's not how any of this goes. Right. And so that was one thing, because that's always a hot button, when it comes to coaching and people talking about how, coaching doesn't work. No, coaching works. Did you research the coach before you signed up? And most people don't.
And I agree with that, but I would also put in there that most people are not in a coachable frame of mind, right? So anybody who says coaching does not work has not taken ownership of that statement. Because what people need to always understand is you are the common denominator. And see, that's what I love about being a business owner. If I win, it's on me. If I lose, it's on me. If revenue's coming in, it's because I did the right things. If revenue's not coming in, I fucked up, right? There's no one else to blame. So if anybody looks and says a blanket statement that coaching does not work, that's on them, not the coaches, right? Maybe you didn't do your due diligence. Maybe you just weren't ready to receive a message, right? Maybe, you had a thought process that, you were going to sign up and be a millionaire tomorrow, right? And all these different factors come into it. But the bottom line, it's you. I had somebody tell me the other day, they're like, I've had so many problems dating over the years that I go through girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend. I just go get it. I can't find the right girl out there. And I said, have you realized that there's a common denominator in every one of those relationships? He goes, no, what's that? And I'm like, it's you. Right? You can't go through all of these people and blame the world because you're not getting where you want to go. You haven't started looking internally to understand who the hell you are. And that's why I love telling people, you got to go through it to become it. And the answer's never external. It's always internal.
Always internal. And so when we think back to, okay, listen, I'm becoming the champion. One of the other statements that you made was, it's not about me. We show up in the beginning and we want to have the pretty flyers. We want to have the great logo. We want to have the great this and the great website. And we end up spending a whole bunch of money on stuff that people are not even looking at or looking for.
100%. What's funny about that statement is most of that stuff that I created in the beginning of my business was so irrelevant. I mean, what I mean by that is not only was it not good for my company, it wasn't good for my brand because my website matched my ego, right? So when people came to my website, it said, let me tell you how awesome I am. Let me tell you what I've accomplished and what I've achieved. Let me tell you what makes me a badass. Never once on my website did you look at it and say, anywhere did it look at you and go, what do you need? What's hurting you? What's screwing you up? How can you get out of your own? And it was all, it was like a walking billboard for me trying to get people. I don't know. I think I thought, that I would just wow them with my brilliance, and they would, show up and cut me a check or, it's, like I said, it's amazing how much you're forced to look inside yourself to understand what you're really made of. And it's humbling, man. It's really humbling.
Now, I ask everybody who comes on as a guest, what is a blunder that you've had along this journey? So a time where you can look back and say, yeah, that wasn't the best choice, the best idea.
Well, a couple of things. My most tragic moment in my company history was the day I looked at my wife and said, babe, we're going to lose it all. And what had happened is I was literally 6 months into the business. And, prior to, I guess I should lay it out a little bit, is we'd bought our dream house. We'd bought our dream farm. I'd built a secondary house on a farm for my mother-in-law. And then I decided to start my own company, right? So with no income. And so you want to talk about the biggest blunder is I thought it was going to just magically work. So I walked away from everything and launched this business. And then 6 months in, I had to look at my wife and say, babe, we're going to lose everything. I'd gone through every bit of money I'd saved up. I had no business processes. I had no sales process. I had no marketing systems. I had nothing. And I had some early wins in the business that kind of gave me this false sense of, oh, this is going to work. And what I didn't realize is those were just some great friends that came along for the ride. They were willing to support anything I was doing. And so it gave me this weird false sense of, hey, I'm going to break through. This is going to happen. And then, the day I'm telling my wife that we're going to lose it all, she gave me probably the best piece of coaching advice I'd heard up to that point. And she looked at me, she said, in teared eyes, very lovingly, get off your ass and go sell something. And so I did. And, that's what really started me down the path to get into podcasting and everything else through some speaking engagements and things I did. But I had realized that at that point, and it wasn't her statement that said it, but it was that kick in the ass that I had realized that I wasn't running a business. And so that's what started getting me to make the mental shift of, holy hell, this entire time I've been trying to create a job for myself. And now I'll start to create a business. And let me tell you, when you're going to look at your wife or your spouse or your whatever and try and say that, that's a tough damn conversation, man. I've never been so disappointed in myself in my life than at that particular moment. It was tough. It was tough.
I can agree with you there. I've definitely had to have that. I've had to have that conversation as a single mom with my children because, I never want them to think that this process is, oh, mom just has money just falling out the sky. No. Mom wish she does, but it's all being a stripper and she's not.
It's a living.
It's a living, but that's just not my living.
Right.
So for that, being transparent about when things aren't working it's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one thing to be disappointed in yourself. It's another thing when you know somebody else is disappointed in you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. This conversation has been absolutely phenomenal. And I want to make sure that they get your information. Also, I want you to let them know a little bit about the webinar. Are they still able to get the replay?
Yeah, so I was going to ask you. I've got a link that I can get to you if you're okay posting it. Yeah,
let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll I don't have the URL in front of me, but I will post the link to you for it if you're interested in it. And you can always come check out the Facebook group Success Champions. Listen to the podcast. Some great guests on there, and great ways to find out. But the webinar in itself, just so you know, it's called Becoming a Champion. And I hate webinars with an absolute passion because I know part of my journey was jumping on a webinar, listening to 45 minutes, some asshole bragging about and trying to tell their life history and story. Then you get 5 minutes of some sort of mediocre advice and then 5 minutes of a sales pitch, right? And that's the entire webinar. I think all of you can vouch for this. I did not go that model at all. I came out the gate. You got 2 seconds of me. And I dove in and we focused heavily on how to create the vision for your business, how to focus on your business development plan, how to get your sales plan right. And I had a pitch at the end. I mean, I have a course at the end, but I tell you that at the beginning, I'm going to pitch you a course, at the end of this. I'm just, let's put it all on the table up front and let you know what you're getting into. And if the course is something you're interested in, cool, buy. If you don't, not interested in it, cool, don't. But you're going to walk away from watching that thing with some real damn value. The feedback I've gotten from people and just some of the nuggets they've got on there's been a lot of fun. So it's been a project to put together. I've learned a lot about doing courses and all that because that is definitely not my bag. So, but we've learned a lot through it, and we're getting some people signing up for the course. So that's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So I'll get you guys that link some way, somehow, very soon.
Sounds like a plan to me. Oh my goodness, guys. When it comes to the process of you being the successfully paid speaker or author, there are so many different things that come into play. And the reason why I bring the different guests on that come on is because they've lived it. They've tripped and stumbled and fell. They've chipped a tooth. They've, bumped. I hope not on stage, but personally,
it could make for a good YouTube video.
It definitely could. TEDx, and then you trip and fall into the T and you miss a tooth. It's a lot there. It's a lot. Really, it's pure gold when it comes to comedy. But you really have to understand that you can learn so much from those who have been through the journey that you're on at the moment and have reached the success that you're trying to achieve. So with that being said, make sure that you reach out. If you have any questions, make sure that you come back. Check out the information. You guys will have it in the description, the link for the webinar, as well as in the comments over on Facebook. That part, super excited. And guys, listen, we appreciate you because without the Speak Easy podcast listeners, there's no Speak Easy podcast. So let us know how this particular episode resonated with you by leaving us a comment and a review. With that also being said, I am your host, Altavis Pelzer. And until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out.
Thank you, dear.